times with the coronavirus from the Bayway family. Fred Hoyer and Bayway Lincoln, a tradition for 25 years, where service is king. Great savings and great service the Bayway way. Call Fred Hoyer today at 281-929-6500 and get great savings on your next new or pre-owned Lincoln. From the Lincoln Navigator, Lincoln Aviator, Lincoln Corsair, Lincoln Nautilus, Lincoln Continental, and the Lincoln MKZ. Right now, 0% for 72 months on all new Lincoln MKZ. 0% for 60 months on Lincoln Corsair. 0% for 60 months on the Lincoln Nautilus. Also, no payments for 120 days on all new Lincolns. Call Fred Hoyer at 281-929-6500.
Bayway Lincoln, 45 South at the Fuquay exit. Call Fred Hoyer, 281-929-6500. 120 days deferred payment with approved credit. Houston, your voice is back. KCOH 1230 AM radio. Amber Shaw, Paris Hilly, Michael Harris, Don Sam, Ralph Cooper, Tyrone Irvin, and the crew. Music, talk, and so much more. 1230 The Source at 1230KCOH.com.
Keep it hot every day.
Houston, what is going on? This is Soapbox Heroes. We are here in the seat. It's a whole lot to talk about today. You guys know I got some things on my mind. I want to talk about Antifa. Antifa, the anti-fascist movement. I want to get into that and break that down just a little bit. What's going on with Antifa? Are they infiltrating protests that don't quite belong to them? Are they starting problems? I want to talk about that. We're going to get into that. Killa Mike. The other day, Killa Mike said some stuff that I thought was very, very interesting. He was called, along with T.I., to talk to the protesters in Atlanta about going home, about taking your butt home. Oh yeah, he was up there and he was chopping it up, saying some things, and we're going to break that down because he said something very, very interesting about a certain media affiliate that I think is important to point out. And I want to know this, you guys. I have a question. When it comes down to the looting, when it comes down to the rioting, and even when it comes down to the protest, I got one question. Why is everybody punching down? Everybody's punching down. I'm not saying everybody's punching down, but a lot of people are punching down. All the blame has somehow been shifted to the people who are out there frustrated. All the blame has been shifted to the people who are out there looting. And I'm not saying looting is a good thing, but I do like to put things in its proper perspective. The United States military goes overseas, goes to war, and loots people all the time. All the time. We even have a president at this point in time who said, hey, let's go over there and take the oil. That, in fact, is looting. That, in fact, is looting, you guys. If you don't think it's looting, you guys tell me if it's not. I would like to know. The phone number is 713-668-1230. 713-668-1230. Looting. All right. Looting is also those companies, those big companies that took the PPP money when they knew they didn't deserve the money, when they got millions of dollars or over $1 million when it was supposed to come to people like me. Now, I didn't get any of that money. Even though I applied for that money, I deserve the money. I think the money should be mine. I've been paying into the system, but I got looted. I want you guys to stand on the top of the building and condemn them too. Condemn them too. But that's not what I'm talking about when I'm saying punching down. When I'm saying punching down, I'm saying, why are we only approaching this where we're talking about the easiest part? It's the easiest thing to do to talk about the rioters. It's the easiest thing to do to talk about the looters. It's the easiest thing to do to talk about the protesters, but you can't keep running. You can't keep running. Even though you're punching down, you're running from the problem. Why are the problems persisting? Why are these problems persisting? I got a question for you guys when you guys say, hey, just go home. Go home. This isn't the solution. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just asking, what do you expect to happen the next time? And then the next time. And then the next time. So instead of punching down, we're going to have to punch up. We're going to have to punch up. And how we are going to punch up, I am going to be glad to tell you in a second. But you guys, I want to know also, how was your weekend? How are you adapting to the new climate that is going on around us? That's going on around us. And there's something else I want to say really quick. When we're talking about protest, when we're seeing things happening throughout different cities and different states and different country, it's because sometimes the spark is started. And in this point in time, the spark seems to be what happened with George Floyd, coupled with what happened with Ahmaud Arbery, coupled what happened with, what's her name, Tatiana down there in the Dallas area, coupled with Botham Jean, coupled with Trayvon Martin, coupled with poor socioeconomic living conditions, coupled with bad educational system, coupled with fathers out of the home, coupled with, I could go on for a long time. I could go on for a long time. But we're being very simplistic when we just punch down. We can't just punch down, you guys. This is Soapbox Heroes. I'm going to take a break, and we're going to be right back right after this.
Purple rain falling down on the prince of the coast where the sun shine all year round. Purple haze over lands till I hydrate in the lunch line. The smog and clouds star me out. This song's in the key of life, and love is in need of more. Young from Inglewood, barefoot on the cedar floor. If black music is the blood, then my heart has been beating more. Rapidly, happily, I look back on the feet. He shook on her son, paved the way. Now all eyes on me, cause I'm young, black, and gifted. Now all eyes on me. If it's swung back my face with a challenge that's meant to break you unbalanced scales, you ain't average. Now throw your hands on.
Tim Gaming, what's up? How you been?
Black X.
Like looting HCAT does, and the humble ISD did me in a couple months ago. Yeah, I'm not trying to say, I'm not like, go loot, go take everything you can. But I'm saying, let's keep this in perspective. And even when we talk about looting, we don't have to go back to 100 years ago to give examples of looting. And so, I think we punching down when we're only talking about the youth or the people who are out here looting. We're not being completely honest with ourselves. We are doing exactly what the mainstream media are doing. We are doing exactly what the people who keep us in this, who want to keep us in this box are doing. What we're doing is blaming the frustrated, but we're never approaching the problem with why the hell they're so frustrated. And that's a mistake, in my opinion. That's my mistake. Everybody's saying, well, just go home. Oh, cool. But what's going to happen next time this happens? There has to be some type of some type of resolution, unless you want to just keep repeating the same things. What's happening, Tone? What's going on with you, man? What's happening with you, man? Right, never addressing the issue. So we just punching down. And then we wonder why they don't act or want to acquiesce or cooperate with things when cooperation is needed. Nobody listening.
You need, better believe you are that. Seeing you up, friends know up, yeah, you are black. Everything you need, better believe you are that, yeah. Mira negritos, puro amor para mis morenitos. Hice un giro, cambiando idioma. Duele palomas encima del roller coaster que saque de la playa, Ocean View.
And then the issue with the protests is we got other groups infiltrating the protests. That make a problem too. But people got to be honest about everything going on. What was you asking, mad scientist?
Mama's been crying and they gonna keep crying. Black folk been dying and they gonna keep dying. The police been firing and they gonna keep firing. The government been lying and they gonna keep lying. Propaganda news channels, that shit is all for show. Camera phone videos is like all we know. Diluting what the eyewitness might really say because the whole world saw a murder yesterday. Now you're accounting what it used to be. According to them, your eyes can't adjust to the violence that you used to see. Police brutality is all in your mind, and the tactics that they use only look worse and rewind. People die every day, you should get used to it. Hands behind your back, face down, and still say, you shoot. Can't breathe, need where your neck be like why you moving. Kids in your car headed home like what you doing. Like why you chilling? Your feelings. Why you smiling when I'm so serious? I hate patrolling your space. Like why you living? Stop asking questions. Why you filming? You look suspicious. I think you dealing. Step out the car. Fit the description. Someone I feel I needed killing. Blood on the curb. I needed spilling. Another civilian. Another not guilty. Another t-shirt. Another rap lyric. Another life gone. I can't forgive it.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Hey, you guys, I want to talk about punching down. I want to talk about punching down and let you guys know what I mean when I say punching down. At this point in time, when it comes down to the protesters and it comes down to the people rioting and looting, I think what we're doing is we're making everything too simplistic. We're making everything is too simplistic, as if people are acting for one particular reason, as if it isn't a whole gumbo of things that go into the reason that why people are doing the things that they do. Now, I am not saying that there's no responsibility that has to be taken or should be taken by Black people as a community, as a collective, as a whole, and as individuals. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Black people shouldn't bear the brunt of the whole weight of all the pressure and all the mistakes being made right now by ourselves. For the simple fact of the matter that we all know we didn't get to this point for no reason, and nobody is out there just angry just for nothing. Nobody is just looting just for nothing. Now, when I say just for nothing, I don't mean that they're taking things necessarily that they need. I'm saying there has to be a reason that they've gotten to that point. There's a reason why you are sitting in your home, in your car, in your office, somewhere in City Hall, wherever you are right now. There's a reason you're sitting there and you're not looting. It's not running across your mind. In fact, you're condemning it, which is fine. I completely understand. But remember, there is a reason and a way that you have got to that point in your life where your mind is there. Now, when we see people who are doing the opposite, we have to remember that they're at a point in their life where they are there. So we have to ask ourselves, why are these people here? How did this anger build up? How did this frustration build up? Again, I hear people say, well, they're not taking televisions in the name of George Floyd. And I am here to say, I absolutely agree with that. I'm not going to say anybody is out there looting or doing something of that nature in the name of George Floyd. I am saying that they're doing it in the name of, damn, I've been broke forever. This is a come up. It's a come up. And yeah, all that on top of being frustrated and looking at other things happen. And, you know, police do very, very often talk to people very harshly. When we talk about these things, again, we talk about them in a vacuum as if the police have to kill you to make you afraid. Or the police have to kill somebody before people are actually intimidated. See, this is the thing. Although we are seeing the finality come out in its death, and that's what is having it bubble up and boil over. But what is fueling the fire is years of dealing with an organization that marginalizes you and bullies you all the time. All the time. And I get it. I know some people are going to say, Tyrone, I got friends that are cops, and they are good cops. I have friends, and they are cops. But I'm going to have to say that I don't go out on the road with them, and I don't know what they do when they're gone. I would hope that they're good cops, so I'm going to preference that, because I think people make these statements too loosely based on personal affiliations and relationships. And the reason I say that is because, again, in my mind, when I go back and look at all these different instances of people and men of color being gunned down by police officers, there is never a police officer on the scene saying, hey, stop, you're going too far. And in the case of George Floyd, there wasn't one single officer on the scene who was a good cop. And so when we say, 99% of cops are good cops, I think we should redo that math. And this is not a put down on cops. This is just being honest. I'm not going to make a lot of friends by saying this, but we're being truthful here, right? So when we say these analogies and we throw these blanket statements at things, it makes it too easy for certain behaviors to continuously be perpetuated. Because if we keep saying that most cops or 99% of cops are good cops, that means in this case, only one of these officers or just a part of him should be going to prison. And our lying eyes know that that is not true. Our lying eyes can tell us that we need to do this math again. And so when people say, why are they out there? Or they're not doing this in the name of George Floyd, I would say it's not just in the name of George Floyd. It's a part of a bigger problem that is just bubbled up and manifested and has popped. This is not the first place that it has happened. I don't know if it will be the last place that it has happened. How long have they been protesting in Hong Kong? How many protests derive from a mistreatment? Very often. And so all I'm saying is we're putting all the pressure, we're putting all the blame on our young people. We're putting all of it, and I'm getting a lot of people saying, Tyrone, look what they're doing. Look what they're doing, and I understand. And I like to give context to these things because I see what they're doing. I understand what they're doing. Do I think it should be done another way? Yes, I do think it should be done another way. Now, if this is justifying it, call it whatever you want. It wasn't too long ago I seen Wells Fargo again in the news for discriminatory loan practices to people of color, looting, opportunity from people. But nobody is standing on the top of the roof screaming about that. And that's why some of these youth are so angry, because, see, I think some of us, as we get older, we think that they just don't know anything. But we forget they have smartphones. They don't have to watch the news every day at 7 and read the newspaper to get headlines, to get stuff 24 hours a day, to see memes, to feel things, and to understand that something generally is not right. Something is not right. And so when I say we are punching down, I would say this. If you're a politician, let me help you win. Let me help you get some of the disinfected voters that don't want to vote anymore. Instead of just pointing at them and say, just go home, you guys are messing up. Use this point in time as leverage. And you use the leverage and do just like everybody else do. Just like the leverage you use to get where you are. Say, hey, I'm sure we can probably calm these people down if we tweak this in this legislation. I'm sure we can calm these people down if we possibly just get some money from you guys for these programs for this inner city over here. We need parks. We need jobs. We need places for these kids to have outlets. We need to clean up the community. And granted, we do need responsibility, but we also need acquiescence from the people at the top. And so why are we just punching down when we could be punching up? Using this as an opportunity to get something for your community. The kids are not just mad because they woke up pissed off. It doesn't work like that, you guys. It does not work like that. We have to. Well, I'm not going to say we have to, but I would think that we can use all of this together. So if they're out there doing one thing and they're protesting and they're bringing it to national recognition, to worldwide recognition, then why don't we get on these politicians and tell them while they're doing that, you guys need to be doing something to change the culture of policing in your city, in your town. You want the endorsement of the police department, but you want our votes. Our kids are out there suffering. They are out there protesting. They are out there acting up. And we get it. We want you to be happy. We want you to go on with your businesses, but we want to go on and be able to live with equality, and we don't want to have to hurry up and wait. Let's work. Why don't we work together? Why don't we work together? Everybody's not meant to protest. I understand that completely. But why aren't we putting pressure where pressure needs to be? Just pointing your finger and saying go home, it leaves the problem, you guys. It leaves the problem. Let me get to the phones. 1230 The Source, you on the line. What's on your mind, caller?
Hey, Tyrone, thanks for taking the call.
Absolutely.
You make a real valid point, brother. And what people got to understand, this is something that it just been started. It's been doing for years, hundreds of years. And any human being with sense can only take so much. And people say, well, what about the looting? What about the looting? Well, damn, whatever it takes, because we tried to be in peaceful. You remember Michael Brown got killed? And it was it's like Michael Brown, Tamir White, Eric Gardner, Sandra Bland, and the list goes on. You know, and as you said about our elected officials, not only these elected officials, Democrats and Republicans alike, they was truly sincere about change. They would come together collectively and put in some legislation that would make the police officers, like they would punish these police officers. In other words, I think that every police officer, they come out to the academy, they should have malpractice insurance. That way they can come out taxpayer money. I also think they should make them sign a contract or agreement. You see your fellow officer doing something he or she ain't supposed to be doing. If there's somebody civil rights country, you're going to arrest and report them right there on the spot. And they are found guilty of these infractions. They lose those pensions, those benefits, everything else, because they don't have nothing to lose right now. And all these elected officials, with Joe Biden and all of, they keep talking about all this rhetoric. It don't have to be election cycle. These Democrats and Republicans, if they're serious about change, then they say, okay, they're going to be talking now, watch that legislation, get that idiot in the White House, sign up on it, get these governors and local to sign up on it in every state. That's what they're serious about it. We're not kids, right? You know what I mean? So, you know, and sometimes, you know, the history, and no true change came about in any revolution unless there was destruction taking place. Now that the looting kind of started, it kind of everybody's attention, but everybody being peaceful, protest, saying kumbaya. We were sitting there, you know, all them niggas in this building, they could go hold hands, know their people, and mind their manners, mind their tongue. We did. As soon as you got like that spark, everybody's wait a minute now, they being instructed, huh? They being instructed.
As soon as people get frustrated enough. And my point is this: instead of just saying you're in at the same time. If you want them to stop being destructive, give them a reason to stop being destructive.
Yeah, because
the problem.
Exactly. When you have a lack of opportunities, no opportunities, undereducated, no education, and then plus with the racism around you next, you're talking about the coronavirus during the pandemic. Yeah, racism and pandemic, they can't seem to get rid of it. So, you know, so they want to look at just a little, okay, then they ask themselves, what led to the looting?
Right.
No, it's kind of like you go to the doctor complaining about something that's killing you. Hey, okay, then what led to it? Too much smoking, too much drinking, too much. So what led to it? So they just didn't start looting. You know, when you can't even talk to people and try to do it the right way, and you're talking about, it's going to take more than both. You got to do the both people in who don't have a hidden agenda. We're not going to be taking money and sell the people out. These also represent police officers union. So they got a union. All these elected officials take money or receive money from the donations from the police officer union. They go in there with their agenda, and so does the DA. So we got to break these police officers union and these elected officials. Democrat program. Y'all real serious about this? Well, I can't say what I want to say because one word like this. Y'all really serious about this situation? And y'all say, okay, we driving a legislation right now to end this way. Police officers be held accountable. Same way y'all hold the citizens accountable. Right. What you say for police officers? You know, and how is it just man?
And look, and this is the thing. They could write emergency legislations. They could get stuff passed. They could get out there. And but what they're giving us is just go home. And okay, fine.
Hey man, I got
for going home.
I have a special two guys, you know, if you can you play when you look up old Rick James, you know, Mr. Police, man. Could you play that for me, brother?
I got you.
I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, I appreciate you. Yes, absolutely. And so that's my question. What do somebody do after you tell them to go home? We want them to do the right thing, and we're saying the right thing is to, you know, don't loot. And I'm going to focus on the looting because I understand that's a lot of people's bone of contention is the looting. All right? Because people are saying they're looting stuff that they don't need, and I've seen people looting stuff that they do need. But my thing is looting only happens when you have a problem, a social economic problem, and you can't buy certain things. And you know how it is. You get to wanting things and you've been broke for so long. When you see the opportunity, you take it. Again, we had companies who make millions of dollars a year and who did great the last quarter, great the last year, apply for PPP money, knowing that they weren't supposed to apply for that money, but they made themselves squeeze in there and get that money. Is that or is that not looting, you guys? Is that not looting? Now, I have employees. Now, let's say I have to lay off employees because I haven't got my PPP money. Maybe won't get it from the way things are looking. So I got to lay these guys off. They can't have nothing. And now you couple that with frustration. I just lost my job. I can't make no money. I know doggone well that this big old company over here that didn't deserve the money got the money. I'm seeing it on the news every day, and I'm hearing this person is racist. I'm hearing that going on. You know what? I see somebody get killed, and just last week they said he was just jogging home. Now I see somebody, their knee is on his neck. You know what? I'm taking the TV. That's how it goes. You guys want a breakdown now? I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that it happens. But it also happens on other levels. It happens on other echelons, on a higher echelon. Like I said, I bring up Bernie Madoff when I talk about this. Bernie Madoff, what was it, $64 billion that he stole from people? Loot it. Go to a museum. Find me some artifacts. Find me some things in the museum that aren't looted. You know, now we have some museums that didn't happen to, but we do know that it happens. And again, I don't think we always have to go back to ancient stories when we talk about getting looted. We can go back to 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. our Congress, our government as a whole, looted us, the whole country, for $5 trillion and counting. All right? So again, you guys, let's not punch down. Let's not punch down. And I'm not encouraging the looting, especially on black-owned businesses and things like that. I think that is counterproductive and moving backwards. What I am saying is I do understand it. I do understand it. Okay? But one thing that I don't understand is following large groups, small groups, or individual people who are not from your protests, who are not from your area, going around starting problems, you guys. Busting windows, running up to police, yelling, saying all kind of stuff they knew their mamas did not teach them to say. Poking the bear and stoking the fire amongst people who are already frustrated. But they're doing it in the name of anti-fascism. Hey, you guys, we are going to talk about Antifa when we come back. Antifa is the group that go around, they wear black, and during protests of all different sorts, they let their presence be felt. Hey, you guys, this is Soapbox Heroes. When we come back, we're going to talk about Antifa, the anti-fascist movement. Are they good? Are they bad? Do you know about them or do you don't? We're going to talk about it. Soapbox Heroes. We'll be right back right after this.
I said we could never be. Oh, I even tried. I don't know why.
Time for alien invasion. 3Ts, where you been, 3Ts? If they are broke now, they were broke 2 weeks ago. Why not loot Target? Because they didn't have the opportunity to. Now they got the opportunity. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a human reaction. That's what humans do. Why American Airlines didn't try to loot the country last year. They did it when they had an opportunity. That's all I'm saying. Opportunity breeds opportunists. Booyah, let me turn this one off. Oh, I got my camera right. Yeah, opportunity breeds opportunists, right? We're going to talk about these Antifas. Still got time for an alien invasion. Oh, no, we do. We might see one. Nothing surprises me. I know that we not together. I know we don't see each other. I'm hoping this book is fake the impossible. We can do it impossible. You chicken impossible. I'm just wishing it's possible that I miss you more. Doris, I need your flesh on my so I'm better. And I read you early month like I paid for a subscription. And I've been on early page, so there's no way you had your issues. But yet and still though, I know the emotions to the spill out. You did that sipping. And I know it's close to being over. I can see it's different. But obviously when you be pouring up, you get in your feelings. E.T. coming back? Nothing surprises me, man. And they're going to turn it political. E.T. is here to make sure there's no election so Donald Trump can stay in office forever. You know that's going to happen, Delvin. Anything that happens is political.
Why we never try, why we never Tell them we can never be. Why we never try? Why we never try? Why we never try? Why we never try? No.
All Lives Matter, 1800s edition. Just because I own slaves doesn't mean I'm racist. I don't even see color. You're racist for being slaves. My closest friends are house Negroes. Look, I didn't ask to have all this cotton. It's not my fault that the cotton is profitable. Don't blame me for something my grandfather's grandfather planted. And if cotton is so bad, why are you wearing it? Don't act innocent. This is the fabric of all our lives. You know what really just shines my shoes? You can give birth to a light-skinned child and everything's fine. But I put on a little bit of blackface. Oh no, that's racist. How? Blackface comes off. Your white face is forever. This is not the dream that Abraham Lincoln gave speeches for. Racism ended with the 3/5 compromise. Everyone is equal. We have a black overseer. Slavery is a choice. If you didn't want to get locked up, you should have kept running after we captured your wife. I mean, like, come on, make good decisions or face the consequences. Blacks are 99% more likely to try and escape north. That's not racist. That's just a fact. When will you people realize underground railroads only create racial divide? And why? We're all red on the inside. Look at your brother's body. Rope doesn't make his neck any different than mine. My accountant hung himself, so we're all struggling with something. Don't judge a book that you're not allowed to read. My house is like 2 stories tops. The real masters live in mansions. I'm a slave like you. Only through love and working together can we get our emancipation. Free the people? How about we the people? Black lives matter? How about all lives matter?
All right, we are back. Soapbox Heroes, we are about to talk about Antifa. Antifa is a group. They are known for wearing black. So when you go to protest and you see people in all black oftentimes, and they're all different races. I think it started in Europe. It's a European thing, and it's the anti-fascist movement. Now, my thing when it comes down to Antifa is, strange enough, I think Antifa is necessary in some senses because they do battle. Okay, this is who they go after. When you go to the rally, to the Klan rally, Antifa are the guys who get in fist fights with the Klan. When you see Nazis on the corner, Antifa are the people who go fight the Nazis. When you go to a LGBTQ protest, Antifa are the guys who fight the anti-LGBTQ people. So that's who Antifa are. But when it comes down to blacks, and when it comes down to black protests, in my opinion, Antifa becomes very dangerous because it's very different than when you go to a women's rights protest and the majority of the women are Caucasian women and the people that you're arguing with are Caucasian men and women. The police just have a different reaction. But when it comes to black people, so you get out there, you punch somebody, you start a melee, but you know, you get to get on the bus and go home. Black people get treated a little bit differently when it comes to protest. And so I would like to say, Antifa, y'all need to check in. Because see, you can throw a rock and hide your hand. You can throw a rock and show your hand. But if you throw a rock and I get a bloody lip and arrested, then hey, man, this isn't quite fair. So, hey, you guys, I'm going to play a little bit of an interview, 2 guys from Antifa, in fact, describing what Antifa is. And that's something I think is important. I want us to have a clear understanding of what it is that we are talking about, because I hear a lot of confusion out there. I've heard people say that they're white supremacists. Well, they actually fight white supremacists. The problem is, while fighting white supremacists with black people around, black people are often the victims of the things that they start. So if they go start a fire and the building burns down, and even though, the first people you see coming out of the building are Caucasian, and even though you see that they're showing, that it wasn't a black guy who were breaking the windows first, it'll be the black people who get in trouble. It's going to be the black people who are on the media 24 hours a day and have our elders saying, why are we looting? As if nobody else is looting. So that is the problem with ANTIFA. They too easily blend in and cause chaos even when people are not trying to cause chaos. And I would like to urge anybody out there protesting, marching, whatever that it is that you are doing, do not just follow a random person that you do not know, who is not from your neighborhood, your cities, your surroundings. If your soul don't feel their soul, just because it seems like they are matching your energy, they are matching your frustration, they have a different agenda. Now, that agenda might work at other places. That agenda might work at other places. They can go to a anti-abortion rally and fight the people over anti-abortion. Those are all going to be, I'm going to lay it out, those are all going to be white people. They're going to pull out the rubber bullets. So they can start what they want. They can that works there. But when you come to areas when it's full of black people, full of emotion, full of confusion, and add more confusion and purposefully inflict pain on people, we consequence. Now, if that's what you want to do, and you also want to put yourself out in front of it and take the burden of the consequence, handle your business. Handle your business. Get out there and knock their heads. Do it. But if you guys are going to do it, then hide your hand and let buildings burn down and let it look like it's other people in the name of anarchy, when, what we're fighting for is just a little bit different than what you guys are fighting for. Now, what I'm saying, what you guys are fighting for, I get it. And you're an unorganized group of people, and we are an unorganized group of people at this point. So if you match too much unorganization, what do you get? A powder keg. And so, if you guys want to come and be a part, if you want to be allied, then be an ally. But don't throw rocks and hide your hand. I see the videos. We see them. We see you guys out there running up, punching police, then running away. Now that police officer looking for somebody, and you know what? Who's right here? Tyrone. We know how that go. So if you want to do things in the name of anarchy, go do it where it fits. Because there has to be a strategic way that we move forward, and somebody just coming in throwing the Molotov a tough cocktail in the middle of the doggone protest very well can start some problems. And so here, you guys, we're going to go over here and we're going to listen to these guys from Antifa. Let me turn it up a little bit so I can make sure you guys hear the sound. And yes, these are two. And now nobody can see it but me. So you're listening and you have to hear it. I'm going to describe them. They are wearing all black, faces covered, head covered. You can't see them at all. And that's a part of what I'm talking about. If you're going to do things as a covered up person, but people who are uncovered have to take the consequences, something has to change. Otherwise, you can't be for us if you're going to let us keep going down for what y'all doing. So check in, but here go Antifa.
We're unapologetic about the reality that fighting fascism at points requires physical militancy. What does that mean?
That means that when fascists come to our city to attack people, we're going to put our bodies between fascists and the people they want to attack and try to prevent them from doing that.
When you say put our bodies, that sounds like a passive statement, but sometimes you are not just putting your bodies, but you are acting with your bodies. You're also hitting and you're throwing things and you're reacting violently.
I think self-defense can look violent if you're looking at it as a person who responds in self-defense as culpable, but we don't see it that way. We see ourselves as engaging in self-defense from groups who want to do humanity harm, whose ideology is the ideology of genocide and mass murder. So, in the sense of reaction, we see fascism as an inherently violent ideology. So when we disrupt its organizing, we see that as self-defense.
The very presence of organizations and people who you would call fascist or fascist leaning, that very presence is violent, and so your violent reaction would be self-defense. Although ideologically that's what you believe, in reality, in the legal system, that would count as assault. Like, we're unapologetic about the...
Mad scientist, I see what you said. You said if Antifa believed what they were saying, they wouldn't have their faces covered up. And that's a lot of what I believe as well. They wouldn't have their faces covered up. It wouldn't be secretive that, when they do something, it would be clear as day. It's just like when we see certain groups go out and do certain acts, even terrorist groups will literally say, you know what? It was me. They'll even take responsibilities for stuff that they didn't do if it fits their agenda. Now, I don't see Antifa out here saying, hey, look, this is exactly what we started and this is what we didn't. But what is happening is a lot of confusion and people getting mixed up between the different groups. And so that's why I would say, you know what, we got to be real careful with this Antifa stuff. Let me get back over to him and let's listen to a little bit more.
Looking at it as a person who responds in self-defense as culpable, but we don't see it that way. We see ourselves as engaging in self-defense from groups who want to do community harm, whose ideology is the ideology of genocide and mass murder. So, in the sense of reaction, we see fascism as an inherently violent ideology. So when we disrupt its organizing, we see that as self-defense. Looking at it as...
And see, what he says right there, I understand about fascism being violent in itself. And that's why I say part of what they do, I get it to a sense. I get it. They want to get out there and bash the head of fascism. They want to bash the head of anybody. Their main enemy is old white oligarchs who kind of like always insert their own ideology and beliefs and just kind of want to run things. So they're against anybody who is racist, anybody who is homophobic, anybody who is, anti-abortion. If you're anti anything except anti what they want, then they don't like you. And see, that's also part of the slippery slope, because there's no monolithic person. So there will be some things that Antifa will be against that you as an individual will be for. And that's another part of the slippery slope. And those are all individual things that you have to take into account and calculate yourself. So again, I understand the general premise of what they're talking about and what they do. But you guys let me know, do you see how that could be dangerous? Like, okay, we're anti-police, but we only wait until there's a problem with the police and black people until we go display our frustration with the police. My thing is this, Antifa, if you guys think the police are a fascist organization, you guys don't need us to go handle your business. You guys don't need to wait for the police to kill one of us and for it to become national news and for it to become something that grips the whole nation and becomes emotionally draining for you to go in there and just slip in. If you got beef, let it cook. But why you always want to have a cookout right in the middle of our protest? That's my question. That's what makes me say, is there some nefariousness going on in this situation? And it makes me think about it. So I'm going to get back over here a little more. We're going to listen to a little bit more of what they had to say. These two people from Antifa.
Demonstrations and have their rallies, they don't necessarily have to throw the first punch in order for you to react violently.
the purpose of these groups in coming to Portland is to
hold demonstrations and have their rallies. They don't necessarily have to throw the first punch in order for you to react violently.
Okay, I wanted to play that. See, now what she said is they don't have to throw the first punch for you to react violently. In other words, we will go out there and start something. Now, this is my thing. From a Eurocentric perspective, you can do that. You can curse at the cops. You can say whatever you want. You can get pulled over and say, oh, geez, what do you want? Leave me alone. You can do that. But if we're having something, if somebody just goes up and just randomly punches a police officer first, who pays the consequence for that? Who pays the consequence for that? Antifa, are you guys collecting money to bail people out of jail when they go to jail for something you guys did? That's what I want to know. Tony M says their parents know their kids are involved. And Tony, you know what? I believe that oftentimes the parents do know. They want to look past it, but they do know. And to say that, they're fighting, they're fighting for us. Now, there's a way to fight for us and actually not get us in trouble. And so if that's what we want to do, make sure that's what you do. But we shouldn't be having to explain the differences in between the people who are protesting and the people who are just peeling off to the left and breaking the window over here. Because what it does is it creates a dynamic of followers. We have people that will follow. And when people are emotionally driven or emotional at the time, they are going to follow people who they think matches their energy. Now, just because someone matches your energy does not mean that you guys have the same conflicts in life. It don't mean that you have the same agenda. So just because somebody has that energy, they get out and, they rah, and, F the police and, Black Lives Matter and come over here, man. We about to bust this window. Forget this place over here. Watch that person. Check and see who that person is. Because what they're trying to do is take your energy and play off of your emotion to get what they want. Because don't forget that you are there for justice. You are there for justice. And so don't just fall for the trap because these things happen. I've been to protest myself and literally see people just randomly just run up and just get all in the police officer's face and they want to break a window here and break a window there, but nobody knows these people. That's a problem. Let's get to the phones. 1230 The Source, you on the line. What's on your mind, caller?
I think I better call Hero.
Call him up, man. Call him up.
Yeah, it's time, man. It's time.
Yeah, it's time. What you see with your eyes out there? What you see with your eyes?
Oh man, I loved it, man. I'm so proud of my millennial man standing up. That's one thing you call it Judah, the 12 tribes.
Yeah.
The Hebrew Israel. We Judah. When Judah stand up, that's what the scripture said. Everybody stand up. Everybody waiting on Judah. We the leaders. They stood up, man.
Yeah.
And that was real good.
What do you think? Do you think that people should go home? Should they stop protesting? What do you think a solution would be?
Right now, I think, they might well just kind of go home and get some kind of strategy together. Like what they need to do in groups, like they got their group together and stood up like that, they need to do that going to the polls in November.
Yeah.
So we can get these laws changed. That's what we have to do. We have to get legislation changed. And that's your voice in voting.
Now look, when we say they have to go out in November, we got to give them something good to vote for, which means that we have to put pressure on whatever candidates, local or national, to give to actually be good candidates. Because right now, if you go tell these kids, you say, "Hey, go vote," and they're gonna say they're gonna do about police brutality, and you look at them and say neither candidate gonna do nothing about it, but tell you we gonna pray for you. But when you tell them, hey, you know what, we need more opportunities. We need to make sure that when money gets put in our community, it reaches our community in flourishment, not just 1 or 2%, but all of it. When you look at them kids and tell them, hey, look, I can't guarantee you that. when you look at them kids and say, hey, there's a lot of stuff being built around your neighborhood, in your city, but you guys aren't going to get none of these contracts. Then you tell them to go vote. What are they voting for?
Yeah. Well, no, you know, they got to do the research. They got to see what, you know, look at the candidates. And pull up their box. You know, they got the computer, they got the smartphone right in hand. All they got to do is put their name in there, and it's going to pop up, and it's going to tell them all about their candidate.
Absolutely. You know? And let me make a suggestion. For those of us who want people to go out there and vote, we need to demand something of the people that we have voted for previously. Because if we get better performance and more honesty, that will make the people who don't vote want to vote. Then it would make sense when we say come vote, because right now it sounds like with the womp, 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 womp. You know, I had somebody tell me this, and you give your response. Matter of fact, I'm going to say it to you. I had a friend, and this is something that it was literally said to me, because I was talking about voting, and he was like, well, Tyrone, I had a friend that was shot and killed by police in 2016. 2 weeks later, turned around, they shot and killed my cousin right around the corner. What am I voting for, Tyrone? Nobody's going to change nothing but you telling me to go vote. So what are you going to tell that person?
Well, I'm telling his vote is going to change. His vote is the one that's going to change it. Him and his friends, they all get together. You know, this one person ain't going to be able to do it. You got to do it collectively. And get that person out of office that, you know, is doing all those, with the little police do everything they want to do without any consequences. You know, well, I mean, hell, if you don't even know the other candidate, at least give him a shot, because you know this one ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Look up the candidate. You said something earlier that was very vital. Look them up. Pick up that phone, go through that phone, and then us as older adults, I would like to say, let's try this. Let's press our candidates to be good candidates. And let's not settle for bad candidates, because if we keep settling for bad candidates, we're never going to get these people to vote. We're just going to keep saying, why don't y'all vote? And they're going to keep saying, I don't have a reason to. And we're going to dig down deep inside, and we're going to be able to give them like little surface reasons. But if we can't give them a reason that's going to change their life, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it, man. They don't want to hear it.
I know, man. But they, you know, they got to find out what it is. They got to get involved in the process. You know, that's what they're going to have to learn. You know, 18-year-old person they never voted before, they don't really know the process. You know, they don't, you have to start somewhere. You know, they got to learn. They got to get with somebody, you know, old school, you know.
Yeah.
And find out, you know, what's going on. How should I do this?
Yeah.
So, man, you know, I mean, because I never voted before. And then somebody going to, you know, tell them to let them know. Don't be like, hey, well, I know everything, like a lot of youngsters do. You don't know everything.
Don't be comfortably wrong. You don't want to do that.
yeah, man. You know, because the voting is very important, man. That's your voice. That's your power. I mean, you know, you could get on your, especially, you know, this new millennium and everything with the technology, they could talk directly to their senator, to their representative through email. They can thank them directly. They say, well, look, man, I voted for you last time. And if, you know, you keep letting, if we don't get reform on justice reform and get the local police and everything together here, I'm not going to vote for you. And get some more people to call in and do the same thing. I guarantee you're going to get some results.
Absolutely. And here, let me say this real quick, and we're going to run the break. I think a lot of times we say they should do. I think we should change that a little bit to we should do. Because, they should look up the information. They should. And we should also make sure that we're presenting something for them that's palatable.
Right.
We have to. Right. So if I'm a youngster and I done seen grandmama vote for the same congressman for 12 years and nothing has changed in my neighborhood, what's going to make me want to do what my grandma has done? So what I'm saying is, grandma, what you do is you stay on top of that person, and when they mess up, you switch up. Then the kids know, hey, I'm not just fighting by myself. That's what they feel.
Yeah.
We fighting by ourselves. You can't go against the grain. It don't matter. And we just keep getting people who aren't providing any change. And so I think it's up to us who know more about politics, who are more involved, to hold these people's feet to the fire. We can't just take window dressing if we want our kids to be involved. They're not going to do it.
Yes, sir. The one thing I know right now, well, I look at it like this. I mean, okay, we say we got Joe Biden, he's the front runner right now. Okay, well, out of all the people, Democratic candidates, this is the man left. This is the person, the Democratic Forum said they want to represent them. Okay, well, I think all the rest of the Democrats that's talking about him should get behind him. You know, this is the people's choice. This ain't just one person saying, okay, well, I voted for Joe Biden, he went here. Out of all them people, this is who left. This is the people speaking.
Well, see,
so
I don't know. There was reasons, you know, other than just the people why he won. He had a perfect storm. He had people drop out the day they were supposed to drop out. He had somebody stay in and take votes from somebody else. Let's just say though, either way it goes, we don't know that. No, we do know that. These things are not speculation. These things are known. These things are facts. We can look at the dates; they're there. So that's my thing. If you guys want to change,
God cheated to get to where he is there.
The DNC, the DNC, and the people that at the top, that's who they wanted to see. He was going to acquiesce to corporations. So this is my point. I'm not saying don't vote for nobody, but instead of saying we should just get behind him, we should ask him, what are you going to do about what we're seeing in the streets? Not just
don't vote. Well, let's wait till you get in there first, because what we got in there right now, brother. I can do better than that.
And that's why we keep doing the same thing, is because we don't demand nothing. He needs us. We don't just need him. So we could demand, even if you do vote for him, we got 6 months. Why you got to tell him anything now? Make him sweat. Make him give you something for it. Make him work. He won the South without ever going to the South. How is that possible? He won the South. He won 90-something% of the black vote without putting no money in the black radio, without ever doing anything for the vote.
He spent some money at TSU. And when he campaigned at TSU, he spent some money there.
Joe Biden, or the DNC when the Democratic National Convention had their debate at TSU. Those are two separate things. You see what I'm saying? So we got to break it down. And what I'm trying to tell you.
When he was here.
That's when he was here. That's my point. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. If you get the youth to vote again, you got to give them something besides, hey, this is it or that. Because that just sounds like hyperbole.
You just don't like Joe Biden, man.
No. I don't like Donald Trump either.
Y'all get hung up on one thing. I'm gonna tell you something.
No. Hold on. Let's have a factual conversation.
Now you ain't not. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm older than you, and I'm gonna tell you something about this so-called crime bill in 1993. The city was under the United States was under siege with this fluctuation of crack. Real man, all the black folks, the big black folks, and all that, the citizens went to this man, went to Congress, went to the senators, went to the president, and said, "Look, man, you got to do something about this." Okay, the man said, well, "Okay, I'll come up with a bill. 3 strikes you out." Everybody signed up for it. Okay. Oh yeah. Well,
that's not true. Everybody didn't sign off on it.
Yeah.
Everybody did.
I know.
No. Hold on. If we're going to have a conversation, it's going to go 2 ways. I was alive then too, and not only was I was alive to see the results of it, because that's my era. Hold on. So we can't say no. We can't say that everybody was there. Hold on. We can't say everybody was for it when Al Sharpton marched against it. We can't say everybody was for it when Jesse Jackson went against it. We can't say everybody was for it. And we can also say, if you want to say it was about the cocaine and about the crack in the neighborhood, we also got to bring up the reasons that those things got here. So we got to bring that up too. You can't just start at one place. So give it your whole story.
They got here behind Joe Biden. You can't tell me Joe Biden is a racist, man.
Okay, hold on. You tell me something. See, this is the thing, and this is why you have these barriers. You're willing to
play excerpts. You take an excerpt and play it, but you got to look at the whole thing. The whole
now I can tell you that because this is what we do. I rarely, if not ever, play anything in full context on purpose. Because no, you're wrong. No. So I play things in full context so people can't say what you're saying. Now, if you're going to say that Joe Biden has never said nothing racist, I'm going to say you're being intellectually dishonest. I don't dislike Joe Biden no more than I dislike Donald Trump. I'm going to be honest about both of them.
Nothing like Donald Trump.
Period. And so, hold on.
Okay, well, I tell you what, you can vote for Donald Trump. I don't care.
No, see, that's the thing. Now, that's why you guys can't get people. That's why you guys can't get people to vote.
You think it's bad now? You think it's bad now? You give it 4 more years.
But this is why you guys can't get people to vote because there's no way on earth I'm voting for Donald Trump. Never have I advocated or said anything like that. But your defense, hold on, no. But your defense, instead of saying let's make him build policy or let's make them give us something, your defense is to just say, well, just go vote for Donald Trump. So my thing is this. No, hold on. That is what you just said. So my thing is this: if we want a difference, we have to eventually push for a difference instead of saying, well, let's go from an F- to an F+ back to an F- because we're scared of the F+. And that's what we're doing. I'm not saying don't vote for Joe Biden. I'm not even saying that Joe Biden isn't better than Donald Trump. I'm saying we have to be honest about both of them so we don't have to be surprised. But to say that,
you're exactly right.
Period. And that's all I'm saying.
The youngsters have to research, though.
The youngsters do have to research. But let me tell you this, and I sit here and I listen too. Not only do the youngsters have to research, so do some of you guys. Because if you think Joe Biden has never said no. If you think that Joe Biden has never said anything racist, then either you're not being honest or you haven't done any research. That's not saying that makes the other guy any better, because it doesn't. It's just acknowledging the truth. That's all it is. And if you want examples, I could give you 1,000 of them in full context. And I can also do the same thing with the other guy who I am not at all saying is better. Let me let you get the last word. Go ahead. All right. You there? All right, I think you hung up. Let me get to the next caller. 1230 The Source. What's on your mind, caller?
Oh, yeah. I say I'm placing an official curse on any individual that do not go to the poll and vote, no matter who you vote for. If you don't go vote, and you got a problem with what's going on now, and you're too lazy, I'm putting a curse. If you don't go vote, may every time you fought your most famous part that instead of being dissipated into the atmosphere around you, it comes back to your respiratory system instantly by way of mouth and ear, so that it can go by process of osmosis to be dispelled or dispensed in your body. And that the smell will be 1,000% that you can smell. So therefore, you don't know whether I'm legitimate on that. But if I was you and I heard somebody say what I said, I would take no chance. Hell, I show up to poll no matter what, because you do not want to endure yourself for the rest of your life inheriting your own.
So you go that upper lip smell is never gonna go away. In other words, is what you say is you're trying to people to, if they don't vote, they get the forever upper lip smell and it smell like fart.
Just seeing your mother will become extinct in your face.
All right. Now let me ask you a quick question, because I think voting is very important also. Do you think it's important to give people a reason to vote? Because we give these very blanketed, well, you should go vote, because if you don't want this to happen, then go vote. Okay? And so their question is going to be like, okay, well, what am I voting for that's going to change what's happening now? Because I know it's very easy to say, well, anything is better than now, but we've seen riots, we've seen shooting, we've seen all this stuff happen before this year, last year, 10 years ago. So what would be the reason? You got to give them a reason. What would be the reason?
You ain't got no choice.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. See, these blanket reasons. Y'all give us blanket reasons.
You dying from the pandemic virus. If you work at one of those stores that our brothers and sisters tearing up as a protest, you ain't got no job. And also this too, and just remember this, you have a chance to change history. Get away from your personal past philosophies. America is in an emergency. We have a president should be on 5th doses of Xanax. I just got to listening to CNN where the Lieutenant General retired on CNN that spoke 30 minutes ago and said that Americans should be scared of this president. It's a retired Army general, Star General, retired. That's why they can't mess with his pension unless Donald Trump comes with a new executive order.
Did you hear what Van Jones said on CNN?
I didn't read that, but what did he say today?
He didn't say it today. What I'll do is I'll find it and I'll play it. But he said it. He said it last week. I think it was very interesting. And there's a rapper who they called in Atlanta when Atlanta started rioting and people started rioting in Atlanta. They called 2 rappers. One of the rappers' name is Killa Mike, and he said something that was very interesting about CNN. But I noticed it. I haven't noticed too many people that saw it, even though the press conference was nationally televised. There's clips everywhere. You know what? I think that doing this, I'm learning that we all get news differently. You'll hear about something that I never hear about. Then I hear about something that you've never heard about. And we'll both think to ourselves, well, I didn't hear about what he's saying. It must not be true.
Tyrone, let's face reality.
Okay.
Reality is that some people mere existence based on a parental upbringing, regardless of racial persuasion, they sometimes pure speculation become their reality. Because that's all they know. Some people research and be more thorough. That's why we have different occupational endeavors in the United States. Some people don't want to be doctors.
Right.
Scientists.
True.
Some people love to be, like me, I love to be a chef. I look at food film and all the time, even though my background, I'm a retired cop. And there's an officer, Vietnam vet, grew up in Houston, from Third Ward, hardcore but gentle, because I was taught, render unto others as you will have others render unto you. And that's all goes. And you don't get in just to fit in. You use common sense, which is lacking in today's society. Politics has never ruled my common sense. And I thank God that my grandmother mostly raised me what I listened to. She was my salvation, and she was my mentor. And you live in luck, and to be 71 years old, I grew up in Martin King and was born in Third Ward, River Hospital. And I come to the conclusion that, you know what, the truth will set you free. don't tell a lie to advance your political ambition.
Absolutely.
Dude, I do not believe I'm not capable of that.
Right.
My son is 42, having his first son this coming November, my first grandson. He's been married 2 years, went to University of Houston, got his 3-year shoe championship when he won as a freshman when he played football with him back in 1997. He has been, him and my daughter, I was tough because I knew the way I grew up in the ghetto. And I mean, I got brothers and sisters got different dads and stuff. You know, but we all are family. We grew up differently, and you know, but I stayed focused, and I said that if I ever get married and have kids, I want to raise them the way I would have wanted to be raised.
Right.
Like that, I want to be in the Cub Scouts where I'm going to school at black. No money for uniforms. I went to all of them on my own. But I guess her new husband, as I call it, good stepfather. But he had his vices. But, you know, my mother be 22 in July. So they grew up in the country in Huntsville, where they were dirt poor. My grandfather, who I never met, he went to jail for the rest of his life. I mean, insane asylum for killing a white man. Never known it back. Usually, I had a brother in them days, but he let him live his life out in the insane asylum. And, you know, you have to, I learned through my experience and my observations that when we go now, no matter what our personal experience is, we have to put America, the land that we own a part of, because that's no other land. We have to put aside our personal prejudices. We need to just look at the truth. And this individual, he should have never got into the White House. He is insane. I mean, I've been to school for, you know, as a cop, as executive, captain and stuff, you know, behavior classes for criminals and stuff. And every time I try to get away from that because he's the president, he fits all of the category 100-fold of an insane individual that has to be a billionaire. And no military service, his dad didn't go, but he's the commander-in-chief, and America must stay focused. Don't let racism divide us.
Look, I think Donald Trump is a terrible leader, a terrible president. I think he's terrible for America. I think us being so afraid of him being terrible that we don't challenge the other person to do anything is a mistake, because he's still terrible and we can still vote him out, but we can still use our leverage to get something, at least a promise from the next guy going in. And that's what I'll be preaching is.
I agree with you, Tyrone. No, I absolutely agree. We can't just go through the presidential like an exchange market. We have to get quality. We have to improve, and we are experiencing something that baby boomer, this is unprecedented. We are going through an era of this disease that has not occurred since early centuries. We were getting older, and we got a leader in this country negotiating our health and our sovereignty in the United States of America like it's a business. And I mean, evidence, he's an immoral person. We have visual evidence. We already know, we heard it from his mouth that he can kill somebody in New York and will not be prosecuted. I mean, and he believes this, and he would, have you saw that movie with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, with Nicolas Cage as the adversary, bad guy, and John Travolta's FBI, and they changed faces because Mr. Case now, when he takes his identity and then with the other family, he'll take that game. You know, I think it's called faith. It's something with them two. This is kind of situation. It's like Putin has exchanged faces and body structure, and he's actually our president. If we look at that movie, in Nicolas Cage, and just human beings can see it, and America will get past this. I'm very optimistic on this, but we can't never let this occur again and let them have, as president, have that much power where he can stop witnesses to prove that he's innocent guilty. That should never occur no more. And then he has the Republican senators as his accomplishment. If you have a friend, you go to and
all about Donald Trump. When it's Mitch McConnell, when it's people allow him to do what he do, Donald Trump don't. What Donald Trump does the worst is says very insensitive, dumb, rich, brat, white man stuff. But what's being enacted is not of Donald Trump's action. That's not Donald Trump. So we're focusing solely on Donald Trump, but we're not focusing on the lobbyist who's in the White House, running the White House, in the fact that they really don't care who the next president is. See, we
have racists in power. Obvious Robin Hood and the Hood all in this game together. I mean, if you have anything above the IQ of 100, you would know what this man is doing in public. He ain't pulling no punches. It's America. It's fascinated.
What he's doing, the most dangerous thing he's doing to me is this. Donald Trump, in my opinion, and if you look at what he does in business, what he has done throughout life, this shouldn't surprise anybody. Look, what he does, this is what he does. He finds the way to stretch the rules to his advantage, no matter what he has to. He will spend all the time and all the money on how to figure out how to get around jump in every loophole, how to stretch every rule. Slither everything. That is the scariest part to me. He's setting a precedence for that.
Money, yes, is his God. Money is his God.
But see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not just his God. Right now, our Congress is being ran by money. Special interest is killing both sides, Republicans and Democrats. If you step back and look past just the wedge issues and the overall issues, the things that they vote in lockstep on, it's hard for me to say one person is going to be demonstratively better aside from window dressing. I'm talking about the things that's going to fundamentally change our life. And so my thing is, yes, I do in my mind think and envision of one of them being better than the other. But between you, me, and the world, I need them to come out with a list of things they're going to do about this stuff we're seeing about police brutality. I need to see
one man or one woman in this day of trials and tribulations, because we are on trial before the world. We need them to work for us. We need a leader to step forth. We need Spivey. That's what we need. Absolutely. That's what oh, you're man. Look here. I'm their bodyguard, so like, man, you know, but oh no, that's true. You too. You be the vice president.
Well, I ran for president last week. I didn't get a good response. Yeah, but look, but
this you run a good program, Tyrone. I like that. You expand the mind. You let people go from right here into the twilight zone, and you bring them back slowly on the key where the listening audience will be intrigued. Because I believe that the truth will set you free.
I believe it'll set us free. I think the truth is going to set us free, but we're just getting different truths at different time. But I think as the younger people, and I think the next generation above us, I think we have to find a way to work together. So we got to listen. We got to talk, and we just can't keep punching down at each other. We need each other. We need each other to make this work. And
we are experiencing a lesson in time together.
Yes,
we shall know when we get past this, because we shall always get past this. We should learn, and as history says, learn and don't repeat the mistakes put the idiots in office to patrol your destiny and your rights.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Could we at least scare them into thinking we don't really care if we don't get what we want, and then just acquiesce at the end? Can we at least just give a poker face? Just a poker face.
I just want to wake up every morning and breathe fresh air, and knowing that the freedom that we all have left will not be jeopardized because of small financial things like political operatives. Because God didn't put us here for that. He put us all here to enjoy the fruits of the earth in a humane way. Because if he didn't, he would have made us fall and listen. But then human beings elected Donald Trump because racists needed their own personal God, like in when Moses was leading the Israelites out.
You guys better embrace the youth before you guys get him as president again. That's what I'm trying to say. We better work together. Y'all not hearing me? You better work together, or the electoral college is going to be bigger than what people feel like. That's all I'm saying.
We got no chance to win the presidency. The only way that we can be president again on the face of this earth, he's going to have to replace our Lord God and put him there himself.
I don't know. All right, man. I don't know. Let me let you get the last word. We're going to get on up and get to this next line. If he promised you reparations, he said, you know what, I'm going to give you $200,000 in reparations over 10 years. We're going to change the policies in policing. We're going to change the policies to make sure they're more equitable. We're going to put money in the Black communities. We're going to dump more money into to historically Black colleges and universities. We're going to make sure that there's fair representation in the corporate world. If there's something that could be done legislatively, if all that was promised to you, would you vote for it?
I would wish when he leaves office that he do it silently. None of that. My vote is to get him out. He is a detriment to my grandson if he's born in November. And for my existence, because I would be like Willie Nelson. I'm going to keep on kicking and telling the truth. And this man, he is an aberration. But it's something that's going to stay in the figment of my imagination reality as a person that you should never vote for. Don't ever vote for a person that tell you he can kill your mama and get off with it. Ed Shannon say, one of my good partners coming over here, he said, if you don't believe me, ask your mama.
And you a smart man. You know he wouldn't be able to do all that without losing his supporters, so you know that's not going to happen. I just had to throw that out.
Oh, no, I know that, Paul. All right, bro. You doing what is necessary because you are an experienced, obviously, communicator, and you have to bring people because you're dealing, hopefully, or sometimes you ain't got no choice, dealing with a person that has an inflexible mind and single-minded. Because you can tell him, no, that's not white, that's gray, and we don't get him along to sue you. Because you defame his character, telling him that he's ignorant, like he's with the color. Even when you go to the courthouse and you get witnesses say, oh, no, sir, he was right. Tyrone was right. That is a gray, and that's not white, and he's going to go ahead and do that. Cannot escape reality. He most subject to blow his own brains out.
Ooh, Well, we don't want to see that happen. Hey, man, thanks for the call. I appreciate you.
I do too with you, man. Take it easy.
All right, you take it easy. Absolutely. 12:30 The Source. Caller, what's on your mind? Who's on the line?
This is the expert. What can
The expert. You could do a whole. I need you to help me navigate through this minefield I have put my foot in today.
We'll get through it together.
Let's get through it together. Look, we are talking about voting, and we're talking about the protest and all that stuff. And what I'm saying is, I think that people are punching down by only, blaming the protesters and the vote and the rioters and the looters. And I'm not justifying any of that. I'm saying at the same time, our politicians should be pushing for change. And then when people say, well, instead of them just out there protesting, they should vote. And then when the follow-up question is, well, what are they voting for? Well, to get that man out. And what I'm trying to tell them is that's not enough if they actually want somebody else to vote. And that's
right.
why
you have to,
go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, you have to approach people with more than orange man bad. If that's all you want to the polls with, you're going to lose. And you may as well hear it from me.
And I think if all they come with is orange man bad, they are going to get beat. And a lot of people think that that's not true. But when you look at the electoral college and the swing states and stuff, it could be very true that he can win. We don't know what's going to happen, but just because 90% of the black community feeling a certain way doesn't mean that that's how the election is going to sway. What do we got to do? But Delvin, I'm trying to get people to say, ask for something for your vote. Do it seem like people are saying, Tyrone, no, shut up. We don't want to hear that.
No, it's like I kind of, use both thumbs to put in the comments. I wouldn't give you, if I was a politician and the black people have been voting for me for the last 40, 50 years, I wouldn't give you anything either. I've been getting it for free. I just come in here every 4 years or every 2 years and say, you know what? This time's going to be different. It never is. It's like dating that guy. You're a woman and you're dating that guy and he never marries you.
Right.
So this is your year, baby. It's going to be your year. And next thing you know, you've been dating the same guy for 15 years.
And he always going on Valentine's Day. But he always gives you that promise. And this is what I've been noticing, and I'm listening to listen to each other. I'm listening to people when they'll say, well, I heard this on CNN. I heard this on CNN. And I'm thinking to myself, you guys don't know that CNN does not always tell the truth? Or that CNN on purpose leave parts out of stories? And they'll be like, no, I never heard that. And I'm like, so you guys didn't hear what Killa Mike said? No, we don't know what you mean. So do you think that we're getting information different, and so it makes us think everybody's lying?
I think so. Even looking online, I think if you get your news from social media, that's a problem. But if you're getting it from a reasonable, reputable news source, and shop around, if there are all kinds of, if Reuters and the LA Times and Fox and CNN, if they're all saying basically the same thing, it's pretty safe bet that that's true. And when you talk about black community leveraging its vote, let's be honest, you have to look at what other groups stop being swallow your pride and say, let's look at what other groups are doing that are successful. Whether it's the gay community, the Hispanic community. You know why they get what they want? Because they leverage their vote. They say, hey, we want this, or we'd like to see these policies enacted, or we're going to go elsewhere. Look how quickly gay marriage got passed.
Yeah.
Historically, that's in the blink of an eye.
Right. And look, and politicians, they use emergencies and crisis to push for what they want. So if you look at all the things that were in the CARES Act that didn't have anything to do with the CARES Act, that was them using an emergency to get what they want. Even though they knew that people were going to be going hungry, they knew people weren't going to be making no money, they knew that they were stopping people from going to work, they knew that they can hold this up to get things that they wanted. Why do we have, it seems like when it comes to the generational thing, our older black people, they are so afraid to even act like they want to hold up something to get something. It seems like, you know what, just anything to get him out. But what they don't get is that has been perpetuated by the same news they're watching. Anything with him, anything, I'll just back up, look at all of it. We playing poker. Let's go home with the chips.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Devin.
Let's stop playing checkers. Let's go to chess.
We have to go to chess. I think. Do you think we're seeing big fundamental changes from president to president to president? Because I want to lay this out, and this has nothing to do with me. I'm actually I'm a person who would love a third party, to be honest, because in my own personal polls, when I talk to people and when I look and listen to people on both sides are not happy with their representation, but they are so afraid to vote for anything different aside from what they already been voting for, and then we stay in the same repetitive cycle. Why do you think people are so afraid to do something different than what we have been doing forever?
It's pride. They don't want to have to look at maybe the ideas I've held or the views I've been holding on to my whole life, because, like you said, my grandmother's had them or my mom. They may not be correct, or they belong to people. A lot of times don't want to be self-reflective and say, why do I think this? I run into it all the time when I talk to people. If you ask, why do you believe that? They couldn't tell you.
Right. And that's what happens when I listen. Today we had a wonderful caller, and we were going back and forth. And what I was trying to show him is because he feels as if I just dislike Joe Biden. And my thing is, at this point, honestly, I dislike candidates. I think they were terrible candidates. And so I tell him, well, the DNC did take part in that. You had Elizabeth Warren stay in to siphon votes from Bernie Sanders.
Right.
He said, that's not true. That's not true. But
it's the same thing when in 2016 when Bernie was running against Hillary in the primary. And every reasonably honest person knows that the Democratic primary was rigged against Bernie for Hillary. There was no version of that primary where Bernie or anybody else was going to come out on top. Hillary was always going to win. It was just a matter of how they were going to make it happen. So when people talk about collusion or Russian collusion, they ignore that. So it's hard to take them seriously when you talk about collusion in general.
But I don't think they ignore it. I think they just don't know. I think they don't know.
I think they don't care. It's like, I know the DNC is crooked and I don't care.
Well, then what would make them any different than people that say, I know that the RNC is racist, but I don't care? What's the difference?
Oh, well, there is no difference. This is just a matter of people being intellectually honest, not pleading ignorance, just saying, I know, I understand, and I don't care.
And my thing is, I'm okay with recognizing the bad of parties. I don't want to be surprised. I don't want to be blindsided. I don't want to be thinking to myself, you know what? This guy has a wonderful record when it comes to black people in criminal justice. He has a wonderful record when it comes to Medicare and when it comes to health care. He has no doubt that his record is terrible because he's been shielded the whole time. But it seems like people want me to shield one candidate because they like another. So I could talk bad about one candidate, like literally bad. I could talk about his persons, but I can't talk about the other candidate's policies. I think that's dangerous. And then turn around and say, y'all need to go vote. So how can you tell somebody they need to go vote when you won't with them about what they should be getting out of their vote? Every day I ask, I say, well, what are you planning on getting? When you tell them what they're voting for, what can you tell them? The only answer is to get him out of there.
That's it.
That's it.
It's like you brought up earlier. You asked what changes or what do you think changes from president to president? And I can speak for myself personally. I don't give presidents that much personal control over my life. Not that I'm aware of. If my life is going great or it sucks, 9 times out of 10, it's probably because of something I did or didn't do. So I don't hyperventilate every 4 years. I just don't. and because they should be calling me for advice, not the other way around.
Because you're an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my thing is...
The president's not the expert, I am.
Right. Oh, we know the president's not an expert. But my thing is coming from a place of power and not a place of complacency or a place of, we're always, we just, okay, look, we're not going to get nothing, but it's better than the nothing we're already getting. Like, to me, nothing times nothing equals nothing. And when you talk about all the different...
Don't want the cheeks for nothing.
And that's why I say let's lay out policy. And even this, if one candidate is astronomically better than the other one, and that candidate has not said one thing that candidate is trying to do for your interests, nothing, but you're going to vote for him because you don't like somebody else. My thing is this: even if you're going to vote him, he should be challenged. Right now, Joe Biden should be trying to write out a criminal justice reform bill. He should be trying to present it, talking about local police departments. He should be trying to make up, and even for people who say that, everybody agreed with the crime, which I don't agree with that. Everybody agreed with it because people think that I'm so young, but they don't know how long I've been interested in politics. That's what they don't know. And I know everybody wasn't for the crime bill, but even if some type of legislation to atone for the mistake that you realize, we're in the bill now. So let's say everybody thought it was great 20 years ago, but you think it's terrible now. But you still
all the time. Right. It was great at the time, but hey, we got to repeal it.
Right, but not doing anything still to reverse the new information that you now have. So let's say within the last 10 years, he had found out the negative consequences of it. If there still hasn't been anything changed, what make me think that he's going to change now if he doesn't implement these changes or at least these changes before then? We can get whatever we want right now. All we have to do is stop being afraid. All we have to do is stop being afraid. And you can still vote for Joe Biden. Just don't tell him. Make him work, Delvin. Why won't nobody make this bill work?
I don't know. And you made a really good point earlier. If you went to Donald Trump and said, you know what, if Donald Trump said, you know what, black people, I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to make it all come true. If you still say, I still wouldn't vote for you, then what's his incentive to negotiate? I wouldn't. The same thing with Joe Biden, but it's the opposite. If he's like you said, if I do nothing for you and you're going to vote for me anyway, why would I bother? I'm going to take the attention I was going to give you, and I'm going to go talk to the Hispanic community or any other group because they're going to make me work for my vote. I already know I got yours. I'm not going to waste my time talking to you.
Right.
Not seriously anyway.
Right. I gave the comparison last week to suburban white women. Suburban white women, nobody knows who they're going to vote for. In every election, they do everything to make sure that suburban white women are coddled. Now, if suburban white women or any other group vote for anybody 90% of the time, then they would know I don't have to do anything for them. So my point is, even if you want to stay in that group, bluff. Stop looking as if we never have a choice. The choice is between two people. Right, look, and so people are going to say, well, the choice is in between two people. Well, that's fine. Let's see which one of those two people we can get the most out of. And that's what nobody wants to do. Nobody wants to even challenge these candidates. And to me, that is scary. And then turn around and say, we need the young people to vote. That is asinine. Those two things are not going to happen ever.
That's delusional thinking.
That's delusional thinking. What do you think is the reason for voter antipathy or for why young people don't like to vote? Or not even just young people, but for people who have checked out of the political process. Why do you think that?
I think, well, in my opinion, I think a lot of the issue is information overload. I think a lot of different news sources have a lot more distractions now than 40, 50 years ago.
with people got the phone and social media and doing all kinds of other things. So I think there's a lot more distractions, but people not understanding. This is, I think, the biggest thing is not understanding how the political process works, how you get legislation passed, or how bills get written. I blame the school system for that, but I think that's a large part of it. It's just a big mystery to people, and they think the president has more power than he really does. They think, oh, well, he can just come out and say something, or I want to pass something, and just because he said it, it's passed. And that's not how laws are written or passed or amended. People don't understand how it works.
And they don't even realize, well, I'm not going to say, but again, I think it's a lack of reporting, because I watch all sides of news and I see all sides do it to their constituency. They leave stuff out to leave them ignorant on purpose. And then when you hear it from somebody else who you think is crazy, it can never be true. You see what I mean? They do it all the time. And the reason I brought up Killa Mike earlier was because in Atlanta, when they were rioting, they called Killa Mike and T.I. So that made me think these guys must be something of importance for the mayor to decide to call them and not only play it in Atlanta, but to put it on national television. And so I realized that there are certain age groups that all knew about it, right? And he said something in particular about CNN, because remember they burnt down part of the CNN building or broke part of the sign. And right. So when I'm hearing something, and the reason why I wanted to play the Killa Mike is because obviously he's speaking for someone. I'm not saying he's speaking for everyone, but he's speaking for someone. And so I'm going to play it because I want people to hear it, because it's sort of the sentiment of the younger generation. And I feel a lot of the older generation are just telling them to just shut up and go home. But they're missing it, that we're getting news from different places. So we're having misunderstandings when we can understand so simply. So I'm going to play this real quick, Devin. Let me play this real quick.
All right.
I love CNN. I love Ted. Ted did a great thing. I love CNN. I love Cartoon Network. But I'd like to say to CNN right now, karma's a mother. Stop feeding fear and anger every day. Stop making people feel so fearful. Give them hope. I'm glad they only took down a sign and defaced a building and they're not killing human beings like that policeman did. I'm glad that they only destroyed some brick and mortar and they didn't.
Now, he's no longer talking about CNN, but I'm playing more for context so nobody could say, oh, you just played part of the clip. So
context is king.
Because context is king, and so I'm going to rewind it and play it some more. So that was the part I was trying to just show, was the part where he was talking about CNN. But he does go on to more of his soliloquy, so I'm going to play a little bit more of that just so you know and get some context. You can also go look it up for yourself on YouTube, get the whole interview. It's 28-something minutes. I can't play all 28 minutes, but I can give you the context on this part of what he was talking about. I'm going to play it one more time, and this is what I'm trying to tell our listeners and our group of people here together, is that sometimes we are looking at each other with so dismay because we don't understand that we have completely different feelings about institutions and entities because we are watching different news. Young people don't want to hear from CNN, but people 50 plus, CNN never lies. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to play it one more time.
Ted did a great thing. I love CNN. I love Cartoon Network. But I'd like to say to CNN right now, karma's a mother. Stop feeding fear and anger every day. Stop making people feel so fearful. Give them hope. I'm glad they only took down a sign and defaced a building and they're not killing human beings like that policeman did. I'm glad that they only destroyed some brick and mortar and they didn't rip a father from a son. They didn't rip a son from a mother like the policeman did. When a man yells for his mother in duress and pain and she's dead, He is essentially yelling, please, God, don't let it happen to me. And we watched that.
All right. And so what did you think about that, Delvin? What do you think when he said CNN, karma's a mother? Stop, what did he say? Stop selling so much fear and distress, or I'm paraphrasing now. Did you notice that when he said that?
Yeah, and what I got out of that, and I think he's exactly right. Look at it's from this to the coronavirus coverage. You and I kind of joked about it, here and there off the air, but notice how apparently the coronavirus has been cured now. We've got a new crisis. The riots bring better ratings, and that's why you're not hearing about the coronavirus. As far as I know, nobody's died from it in the past week.
I haven't heard anything about a super high spike since things started opening 2 weeks ago. Tony M says, I believe that that message goes for all networks to me. And I want to say this, Tony, you're absolutely right. I'm 100% with you. That goes to every network. I think when we talk to black people already have a healthy distrust for Fox. And so sometimes when I think when people elaborate more on certain things, it's because to elaborate on not trusting Fox would be choir. But to talk about the this fence that we have between generations with getting news from CNN and MSNBC and even Fox, it's a fence we got to jump because we're getting crossed up and mixed up to the point where we'll say stuff that's absolutely true, and you'll have a whole generation of people saying that's false. And that's why Delvin, do you think that plays into us arguing and not being able to get along or see eye to eye?
Yeah, I think so. And, what I'm fond of saying is you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. If you're going to put something out there or say, well, this is true because I saw it on CNN, where'd they get it from? What's your source?
Right.
And if people don't know how to research and get those sources, then, they're just going to feel attacked because you're challenging something, a supposition they have.
Well, man, my thing is don't be afraid to check the complaints or opposition to wherever you get your news. You have to be able to make sure that those complaints and opposition isn't true. So if somebody's saying, well, you know what? They do great on local stuff, but they do terrible on foreign policy. Then pay closer attention to their foreign policy news and see if it makes sense. In another way, if you're getting pundits and all the pundits only have one opinion, never a difference in opinion, there's something wrong with that. They don't want their opinion to be challenged. And then this, I want to play this before we run out of time because I think this is important. And this was on CNN. And so I'm playing it in the full context in which I got it. This was it. So we'll play the whole minute and 15 seconds. But this goes into what I'm talking about. And it also goes in to why I think we're having such a problem getting young people to vote again and to get people who just fell out of voting, like who are tired of the system, tired of the back and forth. I think this kind of illustrates it. So I'm going to play it real quick, Devin.
All right.
People saying over and over that we're just basically one bill away, one election away from some progress. It's not the racist white person who's in the Ku Klux Klan that we have to worry about. It's the white liberal Hillary Clinton supporter walking her dog in Central Park who would tell you right now, people like that, racism appeals to me. I see us all as the same. I give to charities. But the minute she sees a black man who she does not respect or who she has a slight thought against, she weaponized race like she had been trained by the Aryan Nation. A Klansman could not have been better trained the police and pick up her phone and tell the police it's a black man, African-American man, come get him. So even the most liberal, well-intentioned white person has a virus in his or her brain that can be activated at an instant. And so what you're seeing now is a curtain falling away. And those of us who are burdened by this every minute, every second of our entire lives are fragile right now.
All right, and see, right there, Delvin, and that's what I'm trying to say. When we see people like what they call her, Central Park Laura, what's her name?
Central Park Karen.
Central Park Karen yelling, he's an African American, he's an African American, in attempts to have harsher consequences be put on this man for simply being black, and we can all see it. And we know that this lady is a liberal Democrat, and then you're saying, well, just give a liberal Democrat your vote no matter what. That's where you're losing people. You got to be able to say, well, this lady is wrong. This isn't what we represent, and this is what we represent that's better. You can't just say, well, just go vote for that anyway. We're not going to pay attention to her. Because that's not better than the other side. Go ahead, Devin.
Right. And there's one thing we talked about previously, and it's people struggle with objective reality or objective truth. You know, there's one set of truths, there's one set of facts, and you don't get to have your own. When you were doing the statement about said this, and you'll just put out a political statement, and you'll ask people to guess, well, who said that? And then they'll guess incorrectly, and then they're like, oh, it was actually the candidate that they preferred. And then they would just, and then they couldn't believe it. It just didn't compute. And that's because a lot of times people believe and feel, or what they're willing to accept from the candidate, it's not right or wrong from an objective standpoint. It's right or wrong for good or bad because of who said it. So you're always going to have a problem reasoning with people when we can't even agree on what objective reality is.
Yes, and we can agree on what objective reality is. You can say something, and this is the funny part, is I hear the same thing that come from fervent Trump supporters, that you can tell them something based in 100% fact. And, oh no, fake news, fake news, fake news. But if somebody on their side say it, then it's true. I noticed the same thing with the Democrats and the vote blue no matter who. I get people that'll tell me Joe Biden has never said anything racist. And I'm like, well, do you just not know, or are you being intellectually dishonest? And then it can only be one of the two. And then I get people, Donald Trump supporters, say, well, Donald Trump, he's never done anything racist or bigoted since being the president. It's just the media always lying. And I'm saying, well, same thing with you. Either you're lying or you're being intellectually dishonest. So we could be honest about these people. And at the same time, why don't we learn how to use their faults and things they did wrong as leverage to get what we want? You know what I mean? Like, you know what? You done messed up now, buddy. And everybody do it at home. If somebody at home right now had to go buy his wife some flowers because he was late. You know what I'm saying? You go, and his wife used that fake anger. She knew she was going to let you in the house. She knew she was going to still make you dinner. But she knew if she had an attitude with you, you was going to stop. You was going to pick up some dessert and some flowers. We can do the same thing. What do you think, Delvin?
Oh, I completely agree. Don't waste your when you get something for it. That crazy people do that. No other. What successful group does that? Let's ask that question. What other successful group of people gives their vote away and asks for nothing in return?
I don't know. Here, we're going to take one more. Go ahead.
So if it doesn't work, why keep doing it? We've been trying it for 50 years.
I don't know. Here, let me take another call. We're going to make this the last call, and then we got to run. 12:30 the source. It's on your turn down the radio so we can hear you. There you go.
I got you.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
How you doing, bro?
Wonderful. How are you?
And I must say, out of most of the shows I have listened to, I actually like yours.
Thank you.
That's my stuff. You know, I just picked you up. You know, the content, your approach to things are like with other people who come on early. because you let people really stress their opinion without you being opinionated. You know, and I really like that because a lot of times other people, when you say something and they don't like what you say, you don't get that much time to talk. All right? And they try to downplay what a person says. See, when you're a radio show host, you don't downplay what a person says. That's that person's opinion.
Right.
And they have a right to state what they want to say. They don't have to agree with you always. It's just like being a police officer. Everybody ain't going to agree with you. Everybody ain't going to act the same. You have to know how to approach them and how to deal with them effectively, especially in communication. And that's one of the main issues we have. But I want people to understand this. There was 10 snakes coming towards you in the driveway. And I'm not there, but somebody, I tell you, one of them poisonous. What are you going to do?
Stay out the driveway.
Thank you. It don't matter which one is poisonous, right?
You just know something that they're going to get you.
Yeah. So why deal with it? Right. Hey, I'm not going to sit here and try to figure out which one, because guess what they are by nature?
Right.
They snakes. So I want people to understand, these police leaders, all these other people that's not of your skin tone, saying these things, you got to go back to history. Remember, they did the same thing to you before.
They did the same thing 2 weeks ago. You see what I mean? And that's my thing. We gotta get past these simple symbolic gestures. They don't mean nothing. They look good. They don't even feel good to me. I feel like I'll be getting played. You know, when all somebody got to do is say, I'm with you guys, but then get up and 20 minutes later telling people go pepper spray them over there. You see what I mean?
Well, what's happening now, man, is this. I have always told people, you live in a matrix. You live in an illusion. If there's over 300 and some million people in America, and it's like 1.2, I get 1.5 million police officers. Who's really in control?
The people.
Thank you.
The people are absolutely in control.
Yeah. But see, people, it's an illusion they put out on you. It is an illusion. If they keep giving you tickets, I tell people, they don't take your tickets. If you got one, don't go to jail. Where they going to put you? It's an illusion they got. They put this false fear in you like they're really in control. But they're not. You're actually in control, but you don't exercise your power like you should. And again,
do you think we're afraid to exercise our power, or we've been tricked into believing we don't have such powers?
I'm going to tell you the people that do it to you. Politicians and preachers.
Okay.
They give you a false sense of security. They give you this false sense of fear so they can stay where they're at. One goes out and act like they're on your side, but in reality, they're not. And I'm going to give you an example. Like I said before, regentification, I'm just going to deal with Houston.
Okay.
Regentification is occurring in our city right now. Who primarily live, what ethnicity primarily lives in these areas where gentrification is occurring? The people of our same skin tone, right?
At first.
Okay. Now, but who's in office?
Someone of our same hue.
And I'm going to tell you something else. Man, look, this is no lie. I used to go to the meeting back in the 80s, in the early 90s. I knew this was coming. I called one of your radio hosts on this show, and I said this way back in the 80s. Don't sell your properties, 3rd Ward, 5th Ward, the inner city area, because they're going to make a change. George Strait, you ever heard of George Strait Foundation? Talked to his son. He told me, man, look, I got the insight. He said, look, this is what they do. In black areas, see, real estate developers run the city. The mayor don't run nothing. Real estate developers run the city. Look at your city. Real estate developers, people who buy land, sell land, they run things. Most people live in apartments. You live in an apartment, you ain't got no say. So people who own land are the people who run things. That is the element of wealth, is to own land.
Well, that's who originally voting was for.
Thank you.
Landowners.
Okay, now, what they do is they lick crime continue in certain areas with people of our same skin tone because they want the property value to go down. They want it to be low. So when they get to developing the Woodland, all these other areas, when they come over here, they can buy it low and sell it high. Go look at your redistribution in Third Ward in those inner city areas. They come and bought the land real cheap. But look at what they're charging now. Now you getting out. But here's another thing they do. Immigration. Another reason why they want to come is because look at your vote now. Your vote really don't mean that much. And I can prove my point. Look who's in official positions in this city now. Your police chief is Spanish. Your sheriff is Spanish. Your county commissioner is Spanish. The police chief and HISD is Spanish. The only person left that look like us in a prominent position is Mayor Sylvester Turner. Now, how long do you think he's gonna stay there? If you go back in history and look at what happens to nations and countries, is based on immigration. Because when people come in, they start becoming a majority. And now all of a sudden, in the biblical scriptures, in Egypt, that's what happened in Egypt. You let all these people in. So when Pharaoh said, look at how they have grown among us, lest they also go forth and join our enemies, come, let us deal with them wisely.
Okay.
As an 8-year-old boy, when I heard that and I read it, it made sense to me. Because if we let these people stay here and they keep growing, they outnumber us. We got enemies out there. If these people that live within us, with us, join the enemies, we're going to be destroyed. Look at what already outnumber us. Look at what's happening to us now. That lady that's the county commissioner has no business being there. None. But how did she get there? It wasn't for my vote. So when I hear these people talking and I hear these people passing out chicken dinners and all that other stuff, you ask this one simple question. What meaningful legislation have you ever passed for your people?
And look, and that is what you said at the end, and I agree with what you said. That articulates exactly what I mean. I don't care about you getting on your knee and saying how sorry you are that this happened. If you're in the position to where you can change things and you don't, I don't want to hear it. And that's my point. And I think that's where we're getting a separation in between the generations, because I feel like, and I'm not going to say everybody, that's a vast blanket overstatement. But what I'm hearing a lot of is people that are willing to deal with nothing, or it's okay, we'll continue to wait. And that's why you hear statements like, I don't think this will change in my lifetime. Well, it's because you're okay with it not changing in your lifetime. You're not expecting a change in your lifetime. Of course it's not going to change. Go ahead.
That was an old tale. That's an old wives' tale. White man came to a black man's house. Black man saw him, felt sorry for him. Now, by nature, we're hospitable people. You go down to Louisiana or East Texas somewhere, they'll feed the hell out you. Come on, sit down. It's up me. That's us by nature. All right? But the black man didn't know the true intentions of the white man. He left the white man in his house. The white man ended up kicking him out of his house, raped his wife, raped his children, and took what he had. But again, we let him in. So them people not, here's the thing that people don't understand.
That's like the Native Americans in the smallpox blankets. So this is something that happens continuously. But look, I see what you're doing. You don't even got to go that far back. We see things getting co-opted today. Still. I'm like, we sit up and act like these things can't happen, and then we wonder why people get so frustrated. And I'll be honest, I can see why people are frustrated with the system. And I can also see that by just telling them, well, you're dumb for doing this and you're dumb for doing that, you're not helping with them people being frustrated. And by never asking for nothing, that's not changing the frustration either. That's adding to it.
Here's something they don't address. Now, they're talking about them rioting and tearing up their own neighborhood. Now, let's look at the approach they did. They didn't call in the National Guard. They took the police force out. They let them tap their own neighborhood. But when it started spreading to other areas, you know what I mean? All of a sudden,
gotta slow
the
it
National
down.
Guards. Yeah, but here's the thing: people gotta understand. There are a few people in that area who own black businesses. It wasn't that many, but nobody there really owned anything there. Those people were there fleecing them in the neighborhoods. Although they did provide services and stuff,
Yeah.
but understand they were fleecing them there.
Yep.
Because guess who had to go to get what they needed? It wasn't us.
Right.
It was somebody else.
Right.
Now, one thing people got to understand is this kneeling that they're doing. Where were you when Ahmaud Arbery got shot? Where were you when Freddie Gray and the rest of them? What's happening is they see the overwhelming force of these youngsters. And it's funny how revolutions start. They start with the young people. The civil rights movement really started with young people. It didn't start with old people.
Yeah, most things do because the young people have the energy.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The civil rights movement ended because the government strategically got together and they gave them the Negroes federal jobs. Now all of a sudden, I can't walk with y'all today. I'm working. I'm going work over here.
Right.
And then, look, when I hear people,
when you talk about them good cushy jobs, and earlier I was talking about punching down. To just talk about the protesters and talk about even the people that are looting without giving any context to why, and just saying just go home. I think that's making it easy on politicians because right now they should be able to go and say, this is what I need. If you want these people to go home, this is what we need to see done. But nobody even wants to challenge them to do anything. When people talk about our ancestors and they say our ancestors wanted us to vote, our ancestors were challenging politicians to do things. Our ancestors never said, just go vote for absolutely nothing, just to vote.
Well, half the people who vote don't understand about the real difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Now, neither party really no damn good anymore. But ask them this. What party voted for you to have the rights that you have? It wasn't the Democratic Party. Guess who was in charge of the Democratic Party you in now? Them damn those white folks who didn't want you to vote. Now, but here's the excuse they're going to have. Well, the Republican Party is not like it used to be. Okay, so you're telling me we can't have people on both sides? That's how you win. You have people on both sides. You can't just be on one side. Have them on both sides because you got to know how each side thinks. So when you're trying to do something, you know what you're going to do and how to approach it. But if you come from one side,
you can't argue something or you can't be ready for something you only know half of.
Now, this is what your black folks say that's in power. Well, you know it's a game and we got to play the game. Well, hold up. I told one, I said, well, let me ask you a question. What are the rules of the game? Because apparently you don't know the rules. And if you don't know the rules of the game, how are you going to ever win the game? You got to know the rules of the game.
And what game are we playing? And this is the thing. I would like people to be okay with changing with new information. When we find out new things, it's okay. And I always say this. There's nothing wrong with holding something over a politician's head to get whatever you want. And I don't like to say everybody else does it, but a lot of other interest groups that get their interest, if you did something wrong, they gonna hold it over you. Do you think the Jews don't hold? Do you think they not gonna hold what happened over Germany, over their heads on Germany to where they got to pay back reparations?
Well, you go into the Jewish thing. I want to hit that right quick. See, there's no such thing as a white Jew.
Those are Jewish Russians. Go ahead.
Okay. Jewish means you wish you were Jew.
Jewish.
Yeah, you Jewish. Because what they did was, and this is from Dr. Clark and a lot of our historians, they accepted the Jewish faith. They took it over. And now they got you thinking they're the so-called chosen people, religious people. No. When you go back according to Ben Yakinan, you'll find out who the original Jews were.
Well, they got there because they were running. And you know,
they've always been running.
Hey man, look, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I got to run. We passed time, but we can wrap all day. Go ahead.
Okay, let me just say this real quick. Now, the Emperor Constantine had the Council of Constantinople. He called these prophets and priests in. Okay, that was his brother who was coming. His name was Arius. He was coming to the council, but with Constantine, these people who these pastors try to get you to believe is this great person, he was killing the priests who wouldn't agree with him. Arius found out about it. Him and his followers fled into Europe. Now, this is all documented. His name is Arius. He founded the Aryan nation in Europe. Now, what was Hitler trying to create?
Pure race.
The Aryan race.
Yep.
So I tell people, go back and read a little history, and then you won't be so confused in your present.
Look, hold on.
Your future be a whole lot better.
Let me add something. Let me add something to that.
All right.
Who was supporting Hitler from far away with money, machines, vehicles, bombs, airplanes, and supplies?
What's his name? Bush Daddy was in that.
Good old United States. So
hold on. And the Catholic,
the Vatican, yes,
the
indeed.
Vatican.
So all I'm saying is, when we so fast to just believe everybody, we got to look a little bit deeper. We can't forget the United States government tried to hire the mafia to kill Castro. If you think that that's, you can research it yourself, but I think we got to start looking at the same news so we can get on the same page.
And they use the mafia to put drugs in your neighborhood.
And then you want to tell me that, you know what, everybody was okay with the crime bill, but you guys aren't mad about how it got there. You see what I'm trying to say?
Hey, man, look, I'm going to tell you something, bro, and I know you got to go. Sometimes there are people, and people got to learn to accept this. And I'm listening to you. And I want you to just tell me if you think you agree with me. If you don't, fine. There are some people who are ahead of their time, who can see things other people can't see. There are people that just can't be programmed. They see it for what it is, but we don't listen to them. One thing about people of color, they don't like hearing the truth from people of their own skin tone. This lady got mad at me because they talking about Al Sharpton. He spoke. And I'm like, hey, man, I don't want to hear nothing from Al Sharpton. Them kids in Ferguson even did that. They ran them out of there.
Yeah.
See, the problem is the kids don't want to hear you old folks no more. They don't want to hear that we shall overcome and it's going to get better. They don't want to hear that no more. They see it for what it is. Ain't nothing changed. You old folks been saying this stuff. Some of y'all get your little money, then we don't see you no more. And you keep telling me it's going to change. Well, it's not changing. And the only way it's going to change. One thing white people understand, I've always said this, they understand power. They understand power. They're not going to give you back what they took. You got to take it back.
Yep, especially when you got the leverage. And I tell you what, if you got the fear of these kids out here protesting and marching and shutting stuff down, give them what they want. They'll go home.
Now, if they hadn't done what they were doing, like that young man said, you hear us now? Look, if we hadn't done this, y'all been marching. Yeah, you marching and talking and saying this, all this marching. Marching don't do nothing. 2 weeks later, it's all over with. But do you hear us now? The only reason why you got this stuff going on now is because of what's happening. And then you watch Trump. Trump goes in there, he invokes the military. They shot bullets at people who were protesting, and you tell us to continue the peaceful protest, and they shoot rubber bullets at them and tear gas the ones who are peacefully protesting.
Right.
Well, you have a good one, man. It's always a pleasure listening to you.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure you calling. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.
All right, have a good.
You have a good one. Oh, that was a wonderful call, man. What did you think, Devin?
Yeah, I saw no lies on what he was saying.
I found no lies. I found no issues in it. And again, but I do like to hear what we all have to say and come together. I don't want to say anything that pushes people apart. I really want us to come together. I know that it's not going to be easy, but we got to listen to each other. We have to listen to each other. It's easy to divide us when we have so many different things coming at us. But it does impress me that someone like you and I, Devin, will say something and people won't believe us. And that's going to what the caller says. But if Don Lemon say it, oh, Lord, it's the truth.
From his lips to God's ears.
Yeah, and the same thing on the other way. If Sean Hannity say it, oh God, then it's true. And the thing is, those people, they can tell some truths, but they can tell some lies. But I wonder why people won't give us the same deference. If somebody says something that is opposite of what we're saying, we're automatically the wrong one. And I think that's where people are getting so frustrated, because we know how these news agencies work. We know how the media work. And to have people keep saying, you guys don't know nothing. Well, if they don't know nothing, why do you think they stopped dealing with them and created content and stuff on their own? They figured out something that you haven't. Go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, like I said, people don't like their preconceived notions challenged. And, people have confirmation bias. They already believe something. And then basically they'll say, okay, MSNBC or CNN or Fox, they already say what I believe. So I'm just going to go watch that to have my worldview reinforced.
Right.
So a lot of it is confirmation bias.
Right. And a lot of it is confirmation bias. Here, Tony M., I'm going to end with this. Tony says, looting starts shooting. Wait, when the looting starts, the shooting start. Second Amendment folks ought to be lighting a fire under Trump's feet for tweeting that bullcorn. Absolutely. Absolutely. We talked about that on Friday. I think I did the whole first hour about how obviously irresponsible that was. And anybody trying to defend that, you should give them a jaundiced eye and not believe anything that they were saying, because that, again, is being dishonest when you know damn well what he was trying to say. So, hey, Delvin, man, look, I appreciate the call, man. Delvin, you're going to be on tomorrow. We got some stuff to talk about, right?
Always, man. It'll be a busy 24 hours, so I'm sure some crazy will ensue between now and then.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. You never know. I appreciate the call, Delvin. I'm going to talk to you soon.
All right, man, be good. Yep.
All right. Hey, you guys, look, I love it when you guys call. If you guys want to, anytime you want to call, the lines are going to be open. Sometimes we keep them closed just to build up the conversation in the first place. I really want it to be to where the younger generation and the older generation, we could begin to talk in a dialogue instead of just yelling at each other, not listening to each other, and thinking that each other don't know anything. We can rely on each other, because the older generation, you guys have experience that we obviously don't have. You guys have stories, you guys have planning, organization, and even foresight and wisdom that we don't all have. What we have is new methods of studying information, new methods of getting news. Sometimes things that you were lied to your whole life, we can figure the truth out in 5 minutes, and we know how to get to it. And so we have to look at the differences and figure out who's strong at what, who's weak at what, and put together our strengths and move together as a collective, because we're the same. We got the same goals, the same principles, and we want to see the same thing for the future. So let's put down some of that pride and start loving on each other, listening to each other, respecting each other, and don't just dismiss each other. I promise that I will never dismiss just wholesale anyone that calls these lines with an opinion, because your opinion matters. And we don't always have to agree to be one. This is Soapbox Heroes. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
On evaluating Black privilege. Black privilege is the hung elephant swinging in the room, is the memory of a slave ship praying for the Alzheimer's. Privilege is me having already memorized my nephew's eulogy, my brother's eulogy, my father's eulogy, my unconceived child's eulogy. Black privilege is me thinking my sister name safe from that list. Black privilege is me pretending like I know Trayvon Martin on a first name basis. Is me using a dead boy's name to win a poetry slam. Is me carrying a mouthful of other people's skeletons to use at my own convenience. Black privilege is the concrete that holds my breath better than my lungs do. Black privilege is always having to be the strong one, is having a crowbar through a spine, is fighting even when you have no more blood to give, even when your bones carried you, even when your mother prayed for you, even after they prepared your body for the funeral. Black privilege is being so unique that not even God will look like you. Black privilege is still being the first person in line to meet him. Black privilege is having to have the same sense of humor as Jesus. Remember how he smiled on the cross? The same way Malcolm X laughed at his bullet, and there I go again, asserting my black privilege using a dead man's name without his permission. Black privilege is a myth, is a joke, is a punchline, is the time a teacher asks a little boy what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he said alive, is the way she laughed when she said there's no college for that, and it's tiring, you know? Everything about my skin to be a metaphor, for everything black to be pun intended, to be death intended. Black privilege is the applause at the end of this poem. Is me giving you a dead boy's body and you giving me a 10. Is me being okay with that. And I tried writing a love poem the other day, but my fingers wouldn't move. My skin started to blister like it didn't trust me anymore. Like I thought I was trading in this noose for a pearl necklace. Some days I'm afraid to look into the mirror for fear that a bullet George Zimmerman its way into my chest for hours of sleep. And my mouth is lucky enough to scare a courtroom. I'll be lucky if I'm alive to the stand. For some people, their trials live longer than they do. Black privilege is knowing that if I die, at least Al Sharpton will come to my funeral. At least Al Sharpton will mason jar my mother's tears, remind us that the only thing we are worthy of is our death. We are judged by the number of people it takes to carry our casket. Black privilege is me thinking that's enough. It's me thinking this poem is enough. Black privilege is this breath in my mouth right now. It's me standing right here with a crowd full of witnesses to my heartbeat.
Baby, won't you meet me by the beach? Early, maybe later, you could show me things. You know what it is whenever I visit. Windy city, she blowing me kisses. 30 degrees, way too cold, so hold me tight.